Having bad credit can make it impossible to buy a home is a misconception that a lot of buyers have. In this video, I'm going to tell you how you can buy a home with bad credit and some tips that you can use to improve your credit. Now let's first talk about what bad credit is. I really don't like giving out a specific number because what's bad credit for one person may be pretty decent or even good credit to another person. We're really in different parts of our financial journey. But to put it in perspective, if you have less than a 620 credit score, it can be difficult to buy a home. However, there are home buying opportunities for people who have a 500 credit score, for instance. Now, there are many different factors that contribute to bad credit. Of course, there are situations where you're unable to keep up with your payments. There are emergencies that come up where you have to utilize more of your credit than you planned on, and by utilizing a higher percentage of your credit, that can make your credit score go down. There are also so many other factors like getting a credit card and not really knowing how to use a credit card properly because most people aren't taught financial literacy in school. Whatever the reason might be for you not having the best credit score, don't worry about it. A really important thing to do is check your credit score at least once a month. There are free services online that you can use to check your credit score like Credit Karma, and there are other websites out there as well, and your bank might even provide a credit score for you also. Alright, so now that we kind of have the basics down, what do you do if you have bad credit and you're trying to buy a home? Well, one thing you can do is look into government-backed loan programs. One that will probably be the best if you have bad credit is an FHA loan. These loans are commonly referred to as first-time homebuyer loans, but they aren't limited to first-time homebuyers. You just have to have not owned a home in the last 3 years. You can have a credit score as low as 500 and get an FHA loan. One thing to realize is that you'll hear people saying that with an FHA loan, you can put as low as 3.5% down, which is absolutely true, but your credit score has to be 580 or above. If it's 579 to 500, then you would actually have to put down 10% on the loan. Another thing to keep in mind is all of these are government-backed loans. It's not the government giving you the money for the home, you're still going through a bank, and because of that, all banks are not created equal. So while the government puts out these particular guidelines of what your credit score needs to be to buy a home, the banks also put their own guidelines of what a borrower needs to have as far as a credit score and other factors. These are called overlays. So when you're searching for a lender, it's best to speak to multiple lenders to make sure that your credit score will fall within their particular guidelines. Another thing to know about FHA loans is if you're putting less than 20% down on a mortgage, you'll have mortgage insurance. For an FHA loan, the mortgage insurance stays on for the life of the loan. In a conventional loan, once you have over 20% equity in the home, the mortgage insurance will go away. So if you're going to get an FHA loan, you may want to think about what the long term looks like. Basically what I mean is that it's very possible that you'll want to refinance down the road when you're in a better financial spot to get a conventional loan so you don't have to keep on paying mortgage insurance. Another limitation with an FHA loan is they're not looked at as favorably as a conventional loan. There's a misconception from sellers that they think if you're buying a home with an FHA loan that it's a riskier loan and that the buyer may not be in the best financial spot to buy a home. This really isn't the case. Also, with an FHA loan, the home has to pass certain appraisal guidelines that are a little bit more rigid than conventional appraisal guidelines. So those are some of the reasons why a seller might choose a conventional loan over an FHA loan. So basically what it comes down to, if you have an FHA loan, it can be a little bit harder to get under contract, especially if it's a competitive market. Another thing you can do is work with a cosigner. So a cosigner is someone that's willing to be on the mortgage as well and basically ensure that the money will be paid back. Typically, your cosigner has a credit score that is considered to be good. A lot of times, a cosigner is a family member who's willing to help you out so you can buy a home. This is not the best strategy to use, but in a pinch, it's an option. It can be risky for the cosigner and really for you as well. In a worst case scenario, there could be a dispute of who owns the home and what rights each person has to the home. So basically, it can get messy. That's why my recommendation, if you do go this route, is to choose a cosigner that you trust and they trust you and they're more than willing to cosign. I wouldn't have someone cosign for a home that has a lot of trepidations about doing that and where you have to convince them to cosign on the home for you. That's just not the best idea. Another thing you can do is use non-traditional lenders who may be more flexible. What you can do is work with a mortgage broker that works with multiple banks, and they may know of a bank that will underwrite loans for people with bad credit. Now, there are definitely some negatives to this strategy because usually you're going to be paying a higher interest rate. There can be other fees that are wrapped up into the loan and things like that, so you really have to know what you're doing and ask a lot of questions to your mortgage broker. It also makes sense to shop around to different mortgage brokers to see who has the best product that works for you. Sometimes there are lenders out there that specifically work with people who have bad credit and they're able to get loans for them, so finding a lender like that is probably your best bet. Someone you can talk to about finding a lender is a real estate agent. I know for me, I have multiple local lenders that I know of that can get loans for people with bad credit. If you need help finding a real estate agent, I can help you. The link is in the description. Now I'll talk about some ways that you can improve your credit score. One, of course, sounds very easy and simple, but it's not always the easiest thing to do, and that is paying your bills on time. So something you can do is you can set up automatic payments for your bills. If you're having issues remembering when to pay them, this could be a good strategy. If you're not comfortable with that, you can always set up calendar reminders for yourself. That's something that I've used, and it's personally helped me a lot to stay organized and pay all my bills on time. You can also reduce your credit card balance. It's really important to keep your usage down as much as possible. It's recommended that your credit usage doesn't go over 30%. So if you end up with a higher usage, it's really important to pay more than your minimum payment. Also, I recommend checking your credit report and making sure that it's accurate. Sometimes you may see things on your credit report that are wrong, or in some circumstances, maybe you have an account that was made that you didn't authorize. That's why it's really important to check your credit score at least once a month so you know your credit score and if there are any issues. If you do have any derogatory marks on your credit, sometimes you'll be able to reach out to the creditor to see if they can take those remarks off, and in turn, it may raise your credit score. Another thing you can do is reach out to a professional that works with people to improve their credit. I've had clients that have had success with talking to their mortgage lender, who can then refer them out to a credit repair service. Sometimes these are paid services, but I have seen scenarios where the mortgage broker is able to get the service done for their clients for free or at a discounted price. By working closely with a lender that you can trust, they can help guide you through the process of buying a home with bad credit. It's not impossible, and I've had plenty of clients that have been able to buy a home and their credit wasn't the best. To find out how you can buy a home with no money down, check out this video or this video about the future of home prices. Thanks for watching to the end, especially if you're a subscriber.